Howdy folks, welcome to another misadventure with metalworking misadventure with Doug. I'm sitting behind my small surface plate with a cylinder square, a new toy, and some other parts here on the bench. Doubt that you can see all that much from this angle. I'm going to try to move the camera around and let you see more, but before that, this is video's been a while coming. It's been many months since I made my last one and or posted my last video, and a few things have happened in the meantime. Had another birthday, which last year I think I posted one on my birthday, and the Barzy Bash is coming up, and this year I've made the arrangements. I did also last year make the arrangements to travel to the Barzy Bash. But last year I got short-circuited by a thing called work and had to fly to the other coast from Colorado. I went to the Carolinas. This year I am flying out to California and going to the Barzy Bash. Anybody that'd like to go to the Barzy Bash, it's at Stan Zinkowski's place in Rancho Cucamonga, but I'll warn you, you better send him an email. He wanted early registration or pre-registration. He will not appreciate nor tolerate, do I think, people just showing up at his bash unannounced. He has ordered food and things like that for the people that'll be there. Hope to see some of you there, see somebody that might recognize me. Although that's a forlorn hope. I hope to recognize a lot of the people I've been watching for a few years and really look up to. With that, we'll get into this new toy. I'm going to hold this for this introductory discussion up here. Here you see my 3x6" cylinder square that I bought on a wild whim from our friends at Shars last summer when it was on sale. And in the middle, I'll take this away, which is a square, is a rather interesting version of a Sqareness Comparator. I have, following I think mostly Tom Lipton, I've been interested in Sqareness Comparators, and I've been trying to think about making or buying one. I still don't have my big machines running, my mill or my lathe, so making one out of something else or from scratch just hasn't been available. And I ran a eBay search for a while looking for them. I was finding a lot of very expensive Sqareness comparators, things like along the lines of Stan's Sqaremaster at the upper end, which is a couple of $1,000s used. Several various fairly much simpler ones, but they were in the $500 range. I missed one that's more traditional, just a base and a round column and a somewhat similar to what Tom's building now, and he's shown in the past, just a base, a round column that you can slide up and down, and you mount a normal digital a dial test indicator on it, and use that to compare squareness over a relatively short distance. I knew I didn't want to go for a 24-inch or an 18-inch unit, and then this thing showed up. It was more expensive than I was hoping to spend. I did see one of the round column type for a quite reasonable price, but didn't act fast enough and it got bought. But I found this one and I swooped in on it, and it was still more money than the one I'd missed, but it had an advantage of having an indicator with it, and so I bought it, and we'll show you the indicator here in a moment. I'm going to have to reposition and see if I can get it so people can actually see what I'm talking about. So this is the basic instrument with some modifications. that as I purchased it. Get it here where you can see some contrast. It has a heavy, probably steel base that is cut out, and these surfaces here, similar to what Tom's talking about, get some reflection for you. There's a gap here, and this outer surface, which is not too wide, about 5/16 wide, I'd say. It's probably metric though. All of this surface appears to be lapped. It's got that mirror finish. And there is lettering here. I don't know if it'll be readable on the screen if you blow it up, but it says Square Check Preci Tool, P-R-E-C-I, or Preci Tool, Montreal. Now I've written to Pierre and Phil. Phil actually replied because it was on Facebook, and apparently Pierre doesn't do Facebook. They have never heard of Preci Tool. And they wondered if it was a U.S. Montreal. I think it's Canadian Montreal because it just says Montreal. It doesn't have a state name or abbreviation on it. And it has a column. It's rectangular in cross section, has a cutout on this side, and there are two slides with friction locks. One holds the indicator, and the other, with a nice thumb lock, has the in this case angled. I'm not positive whether there's a curve. It's a very slight curve if there is on the tip of this. I'm not sure. The foot that you put against whatever to compare from your indicator to this part here. And they're both adjustable up and down. You can actually put the foot completely down on the surface, which I don't think is the best maybe for measurement, unless you really need to measure from the say a reference surface as a low point. And then this of course is adjustable, and it's the same these have the same lock bolts that clamp it into this this part into the groove. And this upper part, I don't know if you can see here due to contrast, there's another thumb lock, and that actually locks the around the stem. There's a friction clamps this block around the stem of the indicator. Pretty nice instrument, seems to be well made. This has a nice blue job on the bottom. I'm not sure exactly what that finish is. The slides are also blackened or blued. The hardware, the vertical slide is bright finished. There was a bit of surface rust, so I don't believe this is stainless, but this hardware may be, or it may also just be bright finished. And it seems very well made, seems to do what I wanted something to do. Only I ran into a problem early on. Now I'm reaching across here. This is the indicator that came with this tool. This is a Carry brand, which is sold in the US by Fowler, but it is made, it says on the back here, MC Messeltron SA Division, probably, I'm trying to pronounce French, which I can't do. Carry, and then it gives some more address and some information on the back here. Fully jeweled and Swiss made. I can bring this closer up to the camera, which I will probably take a break and do. get it so you can see the without there. If you look at it, what you'll find out, this is a 1 micron resolution, 100 micron plus or minus 50 micron reading indicator, and it does have a zero adjust here on the side. After I tried, now note that in here there's no fixed point of adjustment. You just slide this in, slide it back and forth, and clamp it to adjust to get it to calibrate the squareness. And I fiddled with this not for terribly long because I realized what I was up against very quickly, but I fiddled with it enough to decide this is way too sensitive an instrument for what I was wanting to do. I couldn't get it set to 0. Now, to get this to read 0, you have to be in the middle of a 50 plus or minus 50 micron range. Plus or minus 50 microns is plus or minus 2 thousandths. This adjustment, zeroing adjustment, adjusts a total over a total range, according to the manuals that I've been able to find on this, of 6 microns. And I'm referring to a cheat sheet here. 6 microns is roughly 2.4 ten thousandths, or 0.00024 inches. 240 millionths. The resolution is about 40 millionths, or the actual markings. The resolution would be tighter than that. So I decided to replace the indicator. Now, this indicator has an 8mm stem as opposed to spindle. 8mm stem, which is smaller than most that you find in the US. Most in the US are 3/8. 8mm is substantially smaller than 3/8. So I went to looking for 8mm indicators, 8mm stem indicators, and the only one I found at a low cost, it was another eBay purchase, but it was a new old stock eBay purchase, is this little Mitutoyo. This Mitutoyo, and I'm going to do something kind of silly here and take it apart, take it out of here. This Mitutoyo, what I was looking for was, it looked like it had a similar length of spindle, but was coarser reading. This reads to 1/100th of a millimeter. I had to get one that was metric, so a 1/100th of a millimeter is 10 times a 1,000th of a millimeter, so which is a micron. So this reads, instead of to 40 millionths, this reads to 400 millionths, or 4/10ths is the markings. And I can probably read to plus or minus, I can probably estimate easily to 2/10ths with this. That fits my lifestyle, I think, a lot better. Also, the total range of motion is 3.5 millimeters, or 136 thousandths, which means if I put this in the middle of the reading range as my 0, I can read plus or minus 68 thousandths, I think is the conversion. So, it's 1/16th of an inch, plus or minus a 1/16th of an inch. Those resolutions in that range fits my abilities and my situation a lot better than that carry instrument. Problem that I ran into is, if you look and notice, the stem on the Mitutoyo is considerably shorter than the stem on the carry. Where this became a problem was because the spindle was about the same extension. When I first put this instrument in here, the the spindle barely protruded and wouldn't reach. I couldn't calibrate it this against the. Now you can't see me reaching over and touching my cylinder square. I just couldn't reach it. So after some searching, I looked for a new indicator point. And again, this being a metric indicator with an 8mm stem, everything is different. Instead of a 440 thread here, which is the common for most US made dial indicators, this is a 2.5, either 2 by 1/2 or 2.5 by 1/2. I think it's a 2 by 1/2. But again, it's a standard outside in other parts of the world, and they're not terribly hard to find in the US. And I using these feeler gauges and this square, I determined that I needed to go from a 7mm length, which was the original that came with this indicator, to about a 10mm length of point. And I purchased, found after a little bit of searching, not terribly hard, but I went to the last place a place that I wouldn't normally go to, which was MSC's website, and I found I could get them from MSC. The points are about $6 or $7 a piece. I ordered 2 different ones. This one's the one I think will work out the best. And the shipping, so that was about $12, $13. The shipping was about 12.5 bucks. But compared to what I was seeing elsewhere, that was actually a bargain. So now I'm going to slip this back together, and oh, there's one other thing I ran into with this that I had to change, and this has a lug back. I hope you can see. Yeah, you can see. There's the lug back. When I received it, the lug was oriented, this width of the lug was oriented parallel with the stem. And whenever I tried to push it all the way in, I ran into the lock pin here, or lock bolt that holds the slide that holds this. And I messed around for several days trying to figure out can I buy a replacement back? Should I mill this off? I do have a small mill I can use, well, 2 small mills. And then I realized, wait a minute, it's probably symmetrical and I can rotate it 90 degrees, so it's like this. And now I can slide this right up until I can't turn the adjustment. So I pull that back off a little bit, and we'll see. I'll set up in a moment, and we'll see what I do with that. Now this part's kind of fun because I'm looking at a monitor that's upside down for various reasons, but I got you about as good a camera angle as I think I can get here. So right now I have this mostly unlocked. This, I need to make some adjustments before I try to set the calibration here. First I'm going to drop this down and raise it just a little bit off the surface of the granite here. And then I need to lower this so that I'm reading on the cylinder square. Now I'm hoping this is a well-made and well-calibrated cylinder square. What I'm trying to do, and I've just about perfectly achieved it, is set this so I'm reading around 1.5 to 1 3/4 millimeters for kind of a 0 point, which puts me in the middle of the range of the instrument. Now I don't have it so tight that I can't turn this, so I can zero. Hope my head's not coming in the way, but that's just about perfect 0. So now I'll go ahead and tighten the lock on this. So now this is square. But what I didn't check, we rock it back and forth. Well, there, right there, is the square, is when it's perfectly aligned. So that's when I need to do this. Get my head over where I don't have much parallax on the reading. So that's easy to set, and it's kind of handy. Now I've run into some interesting things. We'll move the that out of the way temporarily. We'll set up, and this is a, I don't know if you can read, it says Poland up here. It's a Rafon 150 millimeter machinist square that I bought probably over the counter at MSC many years ago when there was an MSC store in Denver. And if we check this, I have to hold it tight. And presume that it's, we calibrated it against the cylinder square, and I'm reading 3.5, yeah, 3.5 hundredths of a millimeter off, which is oh Lord, 3.5 times 0.4. It's over 1,000th that this isn't square. It's right at 4 there. 3.5 is the minimum. 3.5. Call it 3.5 or 4. So we're in the 1.5 thousandths out of square. And I was wondering, where is it all out of square? I'm going to have to check it, do various things, and I probably should come back and shoot another video, but I don't have time right now. But I tried something else. I'm going to raise this, clamp it. That's the reference edge. Now I'm going to go and recheck my calibration. And it might have been a micron off, maybe 2 microns, but it's worth checking because this is, I don't know how well calibrated that or well made this is. So let's just slide this to the side, because I checked this before and found something entertaining. And I thought, at that level, I'm still reading 3/300ths of a millimeter. Doesn't matter so much for this kind of work that it's whether or not it's in millimetric or English. But now I'm going to take this and move it all the way up. I'm not going to bother to recalibrate, because we saw it wasn't that bad. Well, whatever I was doing before, this one's reading, that's just a hair less. Just a hair less than 3.03 millimeters. So this is not square. And at some point I'll have to explore that issue. I also have this machinist square. We'll go ahead and recalibrate quickly. Drop down. kind of an arbitrary point. I may want to put a stop there. See, now that last reading I was talking about may not have been good, because now I'm reading 0.03 off here. Zero it up, get clear around here. Now I say 0.03, I mean 0.03. Okay, for this setting we're about perfect. I think I may have pinched something in there, so that's not good. We'll read this. This one's reading 0.06 the other way. Now, let me see. When I bring this in, oh, that's more than 6, that's almost 8. That just about has to be that it is leaning 6/100ths of a millimeter that way, and 6/100ths of a millimeter is going to be 202.36 inch thousandths. So this is over 2 thousandths out of square to this surface. Now there's nicks and dings, and I may need to, I'm not showing you that, but there, this probably could use some cleanup. There's some nicks and dings there, and normally you'd be using this, often you'd be using this square to read from this surface to this surface, and those are things that I'll have to check in the future. But all in all, I wanted to show off this squareness indicator from Pressy Tool in Montreal, combined with a Mitutoyo number 1040F. Let me get this in the photo. From Ideal Precision. They have a few of these that are still out on eBay, or if you can go to their website. And I'm just, so far, I'm just happy. And this is going to work. I don't remember why I needed a Sqareness comparator, but I was sure I did, so now I have one. Thanks for watching. Hit like or subscribe. Check some of my other content out before you hit subscribe, I'd suggest. But thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll get to watch some more, and maybe I'll see somebody at the bash.